Welcome to the Indie Backlog Club, a podcast where we dive into our game libraries to talk in depth about some fantastic indie titles from our backlog. I'm Kat, also known as The Cat is a Lie, a gamer and crafter on Twitch, together here with Rachel, an artist and blogger for the Indie Hive game review website, and Heather, also known as Red Pandamon, an artist and gamer on Twitch. Today, we have a special interview with Kenny and Dagmar from Like Charlie, creators of the game Ghost on the Shore, which we covered in episode 6. Ghost on the Shore is an emotional and atmospheric narrative adventure telling the story of Josh and Riley as they explore the desolate Rogue Islands to uncover the truth about Josh's life there. Welcome, Kenny and Dagmar. How are you guys doing today?
Hi, thanks for inviting us. We're doing great, or I'm doing great.
I'm doing great as well. Yeah, better than last week. I know we didn't come off the couch, but it's fine.
Oh,
thank you for having us.
Thank you for being here.
To be here.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I guess to go ahead and kick things off a little bit, do you want to go ahead and kind of, we'll go ahead and start with Kenny. Do you want to tell us like a little bit about yourselves and the roles that you play in Like Charlie?
Sure. Okay. So I'm Kenny, co-founder of Like Charlie, mainly doing the art. So I am the lead artist and also a little bit of the project management. I grew into that more naturally. And next to Like Charlie, I just like doing all sorts of creative stuff. I draw, I paint, I knit. I recently started getting into photography and I like watching television, like especially true crime stuff lately. I've been really into that. And I go on long walks, taking pictures and writing blog posts about it. So I do all sorts of things, just a little bit of everything.
Wow. I love that. Like super creative.
Thanks.
and true crime all the way.
Oh, yeah. We'll go ahead and hand it off. Same question your way, Dagmar.
Mine is a bit different. I have 2 children, so they take up a lot of my time. But within Like Charlie, I'm the narrative designer and the writer, co-founder. Also, I do everything business management. Not because I want to, because somebody's got to. And then aside from that, I also work with other studios on narrative. I do coaching. I write for other studios. I teach gaming students, mostly in workshops. And aside from that, I'm still writing screenplays just because I enjoy it together with my American friends. And I have the ambition to start a young adult novel.
Oh, wow.
I've had that idea for like about 2 years now. I just haven't found the time. Somebody's told me just do it 20 minutes every day.
Yeah.
I might just do that. Get up 20 minutes earlier and just 20 minutes a day. And aside from that, I like to bake. Cook.
Oh, yeah.
And and recently I started crafting herbal stuff like with soaps and creams and shampoos and that's me.
That's so awesome. I just love hearing both of your guys' like passions and interests seem to really line up to like your I guess role and job as well. And that's just so cool to hear. I guess that it's like you live, sleep, eat, and breathe that stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very true. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
That's so great.
Yeah. We were fortunate enough to...
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
We were fortunate enough to just make our hobbies our jobs, and that's pretty cool.
That's kind of living the dream, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, yes and no, because but it goes to the sure. I mean, we absolutely love the game, but it's been so hard to get that out and to make it, financially, just budgets and stuff. And when we just came off that ride, I was like, oh, I don't want to do that again. Like, yes, the creation, but not everything around it. And I was like, I really want something with less stress. I just want something 9 to 5 that then, I don't have the guilty feeling of, I still have to send those numbers to that person. And then I started actually looking for jobs, and I got so depressed, and I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to write. I want to make games. So yeah, sometimes it is the dream, and it's hard, but it still is the dream, no matter how hard. I think any job is hard. At least we love doing it.
That's so well said. Like, for truly passion and pain, I guess, kind of walk the line together.
That's true. I'm going to put that above my bed. Passion and pain.
It's funny because I think back to when I was actually working in the Tokyo Olympics this past summer. And my supervisor said, because it's a high, we love the job, we love the work. And he said, this job comes with suffering, because it's like the double-edged sword kind of thing. And I just think that's really awesome.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah.
Both above the bed, one of our icebreaker questions, so we have just a couple, to kind of like get into things. What, you can give multiple. We're not going to hold you to one, but do you have a favorite indie game?
Besides your own.
Besides your own, yeah.
Yeah, besides your own, that's a given.
I don't have one. No.
I don't like. No, go ahead.
I still have a soft spot for Life is Strange. But I only played it once, the original one, and I'm really scared if I would play it again that I would not like it as much, because I played it in a perfect environment, like 5 nights in a row, just 5 episodes, and I was feeling in the mood and with candlelights and stuff because it was winter, and I think if I would play it now, I would like it a lot less. But anyway, still a soft spot because it kind of kickstart everything with Marie's Room as well, our first game. So, but other than that, like What Remains of Edith Finch is
so good,
a big one for me as well. And Emily is Away. I really like the nostalgia factor in those games, with the instant messaging stuff. And The Flame in the Flood, although
I love that one.
I never finished that one because I'm generally not that great at games.
Same though.
Just the experience of taking your raft and going down river and the amazing soundtrack by Chuck Ragan. That's what made that game for me. Her Story is one as well. I think that's one of the best detective games that was ever made, in my opinion.
Some great choices.
Yeah.
I'm over here wish listing everything.
Cat's got the side window open, like.
And something completely different that I like as well is like all city building games. Like and Timberborn is the one that I recently just played a lot of that. So yeah. Those are my
memories of those city builders.
Yeah. What a great selection, man. I'm just like, wow, that one, yeah.
I've played all of them but Flame in the Flood.
You should.
I love all of those games. No, I have.
Oh, you have? Okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
Some great choices. Love those choices.
I think
For me,
it's Dagmar's turn.
Yeah, I was gonna say what he said. It's there's a lot of. I have to be honest that I started a lot of games but I haven't finished that many. Not because I don't want them, but there's so much out there, and I didn't grow up with games. I was that kid that would go to the video store, get video cassettes. Didn't see any sunlight all summer because I was watching movies. And I thought I was going to make movies, but somehow I discovered that I'm a game developer, designer, narrative designer, not screenwriter. So I actually only started playing games about 5 years ago when I started working with Kenny. So there's a lot that I want to try out, and just, how does that game feel? So I just want to mention the one game that I actually finished. I finished Life is Strange as well.
Oh, so good.
Yeah. And
that
then,
was actually the first video game that I streamed when I started on Twitch, was Life is Strange, because people told me I'd like it so much, and I was just, it's worth the praise for sure.
Yeah.
It was probably the game that I played WoW for about 10 years straight, and then I played Life is Strange, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much else out there.
Yeah.
That's such a funny story.
Right, yeah, that's a very lateral transition. Like,
so I so Life is Strange, and then Oxenfree is the first game that I really
that one's good.
couldn't stop playing. I really had to finish it. I even sneaked in some hours of gameplay on the day job. And I have to know how it ends.
None of us have ever done that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, true gamers only.
Or taking sick leave from work to stay home and play video games.
Okay, listen. I've done that. I've done that 2 times. Like,
yeah.
That's
and
so
then the
great.
return of the Obra Dinn. I really enjoyed it. It was really hard for me. I didn't solve the crime at all, but I really enjoyed putting the clues together and the whole atmosphere of that game.
Oh, that's so great. I love that you guys threw in a couple detective style games, because personally, like, I've just recently gotten into that genre, and I have literally never played one prior to, like, I'm not kidding when I say in the last like 3 weeks. And so I'm like writing these ones down because I want to like dig into those. That's so cool.
Yeah. Can I recommend another game?
Oh, absolutely.
It's a board game, so it's not video game related.
Absolutely.
But, like, if you like detective games, Chronicles of Crime is really amazing.
Ooh.
It's like a co-op game where you sit together with as many friends as you like, because it's just co-op. And like the ways the crimes are all intertwined, and the way you investigate clues, and you investigate or you interrogate the characters in the game, and it's such a cool game. And the conversations you have with the other players, no, it's that one, no, that's not possible because he was there at that time, and it's just, you feel like a detective, and that's amazing.
That's really cool. I love interactive games like that.
Yeah.
Well, in that respect, maybe I'd also mention 12 Minutes. It's not really leans in that direction. We played that in the office during our lunch break.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
We loved it so much until the ending, but but yeah, still, it's a great game. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah, Kat, I assume you're taking notes. I'm gonna rip those notes from you later.
Just look at my recently wish listed on Steam.
Okay, deal. Yeah, you got it. Okay, one more icebreaker question for you guys, because we like to hear from our devs. Do you have a favorite snack? It can be while you're, doing your dev duties, or it's just like, this is my feel good snack after a really hard day.
Well, usually that's a glass of wine.
Yes.
That counts.
Oh, that counts. Okay.
But I'm anything chocolate, and I will have these phases where I go healthy, and I will like only have healthy snacks in my desk drawer. But then I just succumb to, and I'm like, I've been a good girl for too long. I'm just gonna buy a lot of crap. And then my you can ask Kenny. Then my drawer is stuffed with all sort of cookies and chocolate stuff. And I start eating it until I'm feeling very unwell, and then I start handing it out. I'm like, guys, save me, because I'm going to eat all this.
It's amazing. The first day the day that she showed her drawer, the magic drawer, when we were at our previous job, like I think I was hungry or something, and I asked, or I told Dagmar, I don't know, and then she opened her drawer, and there were like all candies and sweets, and I'm like, oh, and I didn't know about this.
That was me at the
Same
office
drawer.
before. Yeah, me too.
Oh my gosh. Snack
I have
dealers.
a non-drawer in my bedroom. Like, that's how dedicated I am.
Yep.
Ari always shares like the best snacks. She's just like, "Hey, look what I found at the shop today," and I'm just like, "I want those. Can you send them to me?"
Care packages to the U.S.
Yeah, right.
Our candy and our sweets they're nothing compared to the rest of the world.
No, especially when it comes to chocolate. Since Dagmar said chocolate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
we love our chocolate here.
Yeah, we love our chocolate from Belgium.
Okay, Kenny, do you have a favorite then that you may have plucked from the drawer?
Well, if wine counts, I would say wine as well. But
I did not have that in my drawer, just to be clear.
no, that's true. That's true. Just to clarify. But yeah, I really like chocolate, especially with sea salt in it and with a little bit of caramel.
Sounds good.
And yeah, during a movie, I'm just old-fashioned popcorn. That's still great as well.
I do enjoy popcorn. I think I prefer kettle corn. I know that there's a divided kind of like, system on that. You know, some people are like only popcorn and only kettle. I like both, but I prefer kettle.
I don't know what kettle corn is.
No, me neither.
It's like it's like a sweet. So they pop it with sugar. And so it gets a little bit sweet, salty combo. Yeah, if I just say there's just sugar on the popcorn, it sounds weird. But, it's not like a caramel corn or anything. It's just simply like a sweet, salty popcorn.
Yeah. Oh.
It's very good.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah.
And it earned its name because they traditionally you pop it in like a big cast iron kettle. Rather than just like in a pan.
Traditionally, popcorn in the US is salt then, or?
Yeah, I think that like our popcorn, like typically if you just go buy popcorn, it's just like butter and salt, and you can get it in various, especially like microwave popcorn. Me and my partner, we make like homemade popcorn because I don't buy microwave popcorn anymore. But then like kettle corn is like not the default, I guess. It's not the basic option. It's like a treat. You get it at fairs a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
I recommend
to make kettle corn at home.
I recommend. It's very good. You won't be disappointed.
Yeah, we're learning all sorts of things.
That's what these interviews are so much fun, man. New snacks, new games. Well, pressing forward to, I guess, learn a little bit more about Like Charlie and Ghost on the Shore while we're here. Our first kind of like question that we've got is, how did you get into development? How did Like Charlie kind of come about?
Yeah, in contrast to Dagmar, I did start playing games. Well, a little earlier, at least. My first console was a PlayStation 1.
Hey,
really
that was mine.
Enjoyed those games. Yeah, it's the good old days.
Mm-hmm.
So I was always interested, although I didn't really play as much as some other kids I knew. But it was just a lot of fun playing with friends, basically, hanging out with friends and playing games that way. And then I discovered that you can study for game development here in Belgium. So I went to college, digital arts and entertainment, and there I learned to make games. I chose the art track in the end, and I started working at my first job. That was an adventure game for kids, and they had to basically go on an adventure all during primary school. And they got their rewards for doing their tasks and stuff. And that's where I met Dagmar. She started writing for that game. And then we started working together on a side project that eventually became Marie's Room. And we released it, and it was more successful than we would have imagined or hoped. And yeah, like Charlie was born. We decided to go on and continue developing games together. And that's when we started Like Charlie and started working on Ghost on the Shore.
So
that's
awesome.
how we got here.
Yep.
Wow, I love that. That's so good.
And Marie's Room was awesome too. So check that out if you haven't.
It's really funny how that came about. Like Kenny was already making that room when he asked me, like, do you want to take a look at this? Because we didn't know each other that well then. And he was like, yeah, I might want to, like make it a real game and not just an art portfolio thing.
Yeah.
And that's actually how it started, just chatting during our lunch breaks. The two of us with our sandwiches at our computers, just munching and typing. So we never thought it was going to take off in the direction that it did, or that we would start a company someday together. That was like not something that we would have thought of.
That's awesome. I love that. How I guess to follow up, Dagmar, how did you kind of like, because you mentioned it a little bit, just like kind of into development, you said screenwriting and film, and then you kind of ended up in the game development area.
Yeah, well, I've done a lot of things in my life job wise. I mean, I've been a photographer, I've been a teacher, I've worked in theater, I've been an English teacher. I've done so many things. And then I turned 40, and I booked myself a solo trip to the US, to California. And then that's where I went to visit the Warner Bros. Studios, and I had this amazing guide, and she would tell me everything about the movie set. And it was May, so they were on a break. There was nobody there, but the sound stages were there, and I was like, the magic was amazing. I was like, oh my God, Dagmar, you're going to be 40. I think it's about time that you do what you've always wanted to do. So, okay, I'm going to be a screenwriter. So I enrolled in a UCLA class online. So for a year, I sat down every Monday night at 3 a.m. in the morning to do this course. And I absolutely loved it. I couldn't, I used my maternity leave for my second child to do this. So I started writing screenplays like crazy. I loved it. And then like a year later, I realized that I actually needed a job too. And then through a friend, I heard about this job opening for a game writer for a Flemish game for children. And I was like, that's also for a screen, screenwriting, game writing, it won't be that different. Of course, it was very different. And I still think it's a miracle that they hired me, because I'd hardly played anything. Just, a couple of hours of The Sims and Lara Croft, and that was it. But they did hire me. And I believe that, that's how it was supposed to be, because if not, I would not have met Kenny. We would not have met everybody that was working on that game. Alex, Steven, Dries, they all joined us in our projects. So those were the people that I was going to make games with the next few years of my life.
Wow.
So that's kind of how it happened. I never would have looked for it, but it just, I found myself there suddenly and realized that I actually really enjoyed it.
That's such a beautiful story. I love that.
Yeah, for real. How something like that perfect storm of things just kind of coming together in the right place, right time. I love that.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. And the combo with Kenny is great because, I mean, we are very different, like in male, female, in age, in background, like growing up with games, growing up with film. But yet at the same time, we're also very similar in the way that we approach our creativity, which is awesome. And it's in working with other studios and other people right now that we realize how well we work together. like how great a team we actually are.
Yeah, that's
So,
awesome.
That's the story of Like Charlie.
I'm a little curious, I guess, what made you guys decide on the name Like Charlie?
That was going to be my question. Yeah.
Okay.
I've always wondered.
Yeah, you can tell it, Kenny.
No, you should. It will sound better.
Okay. So Kenny and I almost never fight. Making Marie's Room, we had no disagreements at all. We agreed on everything fairly easily. But finding a name for our company was really hard. We wanted two different things, and it was. It was getting a little frustrating. And I remember one time I was in the car about to pick up my kids, and my brain was still going. And I was like, oh, it's easier to name your child than it is to name your company. And then I thought of my son is called Elvis, but if he would have been a girl, I would have liked to have called him Charlie. And I was like, oh, Charlie, that works. And Kenny actually liked that a lot because instantly when I mentioned it, he had a connection to a certain Charlie, and I thought of other Charlies. So Charlie is a name that has so many stories. I mean, you have Charlie Chaplin, you have Charlie Hebdo in France, you have Charlie Duvisi in Vietnam, you have Checkpoint Charlie in Berlin, you have Charlie Parker, you have so many Charlies.
Yeah.
And they all have their story. So, because that's kind of also our tagline. We're like, like Charlie, we have 1,000 stories and hope to tell them all. But initially, the thing that for us, if we give the short version of this answer, we always say it's Charlie from the Chocolate Factory. Yeah, because Marie's Room for us was like this golden ticket that we got, and that we were allowed to, start our own game company, and people were actually interested in what we were doing. And it was a brand new world. Neither of us had ever started a company, had ever started their own game studio. So many new things were heading our way, and it was wonderful, but also very scary. So we kind of felt like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory with our big golden ticket in our hands.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, I love that. What a visual.
Yeah.
It resonates well.
Was there anything you sort of learned making Marie's Room that you carried over into Ghost on the Shore?
That's a good one for Kenny to answer.
Very good question. I made Marie's Room to basically first learn Unreal Engine, because I never really made a project in that game engine specifically. But for me, it became also a good lesson in project management, to come to think of it, because I did make plannings and stuff, and after a while it was really organized. Since we passed on Steam Greenlight, it got a little bit more serious towards the end, I felt like. Also doing the marketing, so to speak. It was very bare bones, but just contacting streamers and YouTubers. That was really something I'd never done before, and was really helpful in future games we developed, or Ghost on the Shore specifically. And yeah, basically working together with Dagmar as well, we learned a lot more about each other and how we both worked and what didn't work. So that was really important to see as well. And I feel like Marie's Room was kind of our free trial we got before starting Like Charlie, basically.
Yeah.
Because we knew it worked after making Marie's Room, and that was the biggest positive that we got from Marie's Room, I think. Just the team dynamic we had there, and or still have.
And whenever things got really tough, and like, oh, we're never gonna finish this game, talking Ghost on the Shore, you always have this fun. No. We finished Marie's Room. We know we can do this. We know we can actually finish a game and launch it.
That's wonderful.
And I think because Kenny did most of the marketing and everything, so I just did the development, and we talked a lot about game design. And I think we learned from some of the things that worked for us in Marie's Room and the things that didn't work, and that certainly translated into gameplay in Ghost on the Shore for sure.
What made you switch? If Marie's Room was made in Unreal, I think Ghost on the Shore was made in Unity. What made you switch?
That was really simple. I didn't have any experience in Unreal before I started working on Marie's Room. And when we decided on Ghost on the Shore, it was hard for me to be able to do all the art again and all the programming as well, because I did the programming for Marie's Room as well. So when Alex joined, our programmer, and later on Dries as well, they all had much more experience in Unity, and I myself did too, because in the day job I always used Unity. So we easily decided to just stick to Unity and go back to there, just not to be a burden on the programmers to learn a new programming language.
Yeah.
Which doesn't mean that we might not change back in the future.
Fair. It sounds like you guys have a really good rapport with each other, and I think that's really important in a working relationship, especially in something as highly creative and intensely emotional as building a game together. What's it like working with people that you really consider friends, that you all just kind of naturally fell together rather than, applying for a job and sitting down, and you just are kind of in a room with people that you have to work with?
It is cozy and comfortable and safe. I guess I would absolutely use the word safe. Even if I mess up, if I say something stupid, or it's them, it's okay, Or if I don't, sometimes I'll because I'm still learning on the job sometimes, and whenever that is the case, I'm not afraid to lose face or anything. I just I don't understand what that is. Please explain it to me. And they do. But when you work for another studio, I'm much more careful about my steps, because I know I'm not in my comfort zone. I am safe, I'm safe, but it's different. So I absolutely love working with our team. There are some downsides to it as well, I think, but maybe Kenny should, because I keep talking.
Yeah. Well, what I wanted to say as well is that we always know what to expect from each other. Like we discuss something, and we know the other person how he will or she will interpret it, and it just fits. It always fits, and we complement each other so well. We all have these different skill sets, but also with enough overlap that we still can talk to each other about what we feel, or how, or why something does work or doesn't work. So that was also so much easier to start working from home once we had to, because with other colleagues where relationship would be a little bit stiff, I think it would have been a lot different. We were constantly in a Discord call, most of the time muted, but it was our virtual office. We called it that way. So we just sat there and worked together. And when there was a question, we just asked or started chatting. It made working from home so much easier and bearable, I think.
That's so nice. I like that you guys are able to have that kind of connection and comfortability. That whole I work with some of my friends and colleagues just in a Discord call, and it makes it so I feel more motivated and I feel really comfortable. And so it's nice to hear that you guys kind of have that dynamic, I guess, together as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So kind of building off of where we're at, what would you say maybe like was your biggest challenge when making Ghost on the Shore?
When we started Ghost on the Shore, the only one who was working full time was Dagmar, I think, or she had the most working hours for Ghost on the Shore back then. I was only working at first 1 day in a week, and then later I started working part time. But that was hard because she worked different hours than I did, and that was really difficult. And it got even worse for me, at least, when I did start working full time, but the programmer, for example, worked after our hours, and that was totally fine. Of course, he was helping us immensely, but it was just I closed off my computer or shut down, and then he started asking questions because he started working after his day job, and I was like, okay, I have to answer this that he can continue work. But it was a little bit disjointed, the development process that way. And
also for us, when we had questions or we needed something from the programmer, we knew we had to wait until that evening at least, and that was disjointed is a good word for that, Kenny. That made it also like project-wise and financially more safe and easy, because like we weren't taking that many risks. Everybody had a daytime job except for me and Kenny. But then that was then the downside of it. Like you had to deal with everybody working weekends or evenings, and that was a challenge sometimes. Especially on my side, I have kids and they have hobbies, and then there would be evening meetings, and it was sometimes hard to juggle it all. And my kids sometimes would be like, they would feel when I had a call, a conference, and when I was putting them to bed, and of course then they put up a fight. They didn't want to go to sleep, and I got all stressed out and stuff. So that was a big challenge for sure.
Yeah, and in the end, we started facing the opposite challenge. Then we did have a full-time team we were with 4. But then we had the financial stuff that we had to worry about. So it was a real balance to figure those things out. But we got there in the end.
Every week that you add to your dev schedule, I knew I had to find money again, and that's just something that has kept me awake at night. Like having people on our payroll, that is just anxiety, I can tell you.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's why for we can say this, right? For our next project, Kenny and I we're gonna go back to the origins, and we're gonna start at just me and him. He's gonna program again. That's why I said Unreal, because we're gonna do it in Unreal again. I mean, that's the plan. We'll see if it all works out, if our computers can handle it.
That was actually, dang. Now I kind of want to get into that. Because that was one of our questions that we were like, do you think we could ask them if they have any upcoming projects that they can talk about, But, we absolutely won't pressure you into that. Maybe we'll circle back around at the end to hear a little bit more about good. That, maybe,
Sure, we don't mind telling about it.
Oh, okay. All right. Perfect. We'll come back to that. But focusing, I guess, up on Ghost on the Shore, getting into kind of the meat of the story of it as if you guys have listened to our previous podcast on it or played the game for yourselves, it's very, like Kat said, emotional narrative from start to finish. I was hooked. Like it's like it handled like a very good book, like Kat said, and I was just like grabbed right from the beginning. And I think it was like the first game in a long time that I actually played just straight through. Like I didn't stop. I did like a full stream of it. And it was awesome. It was awesome. And I wouldn't have wanted to break it up because there was so many different, characters and narratives and things going on within it. I was just like really into it. And so I know we have kind of discussed it, but do you feel that the story morphed or changed much from like kind of like your original inspiration from it, or were you set on your original idea and it just kind of built, off of that?
At one point, yes, it did. But before I got to that one point, it did change a lot. Because initially when we started, okay, so when we knew that we were going to make another game, I pitched 2 ideas to Kenny, and I pitched it about I can't say this because then I'm going to ruin what the game is about.
We always say that we
always discuss spoiler.
Yeah, we discuss.
Okay, cool. Yeah, all right. So I pitched it to him like a love story, and there's a betrayal in the end, and she dies. He dies, and he thinks that she's betrayed him, but she hasn't. And she comes back over and over again to set him free, to find a way to set him free. And that was, I think, the thing that appealed to Kenny. Right, Kenny?
Yeah, it was basically the relation through the different
Beyond
incarnations of the Riley person.
Yeah. So that thing, that concept stayed the same. But in the beginning, we were really setting everything in Louisiana, kind of that atmosphere. And I was even, at one point, Josh was hung. But then it started heading off in a direction that it was more like African American history. And I felt like I don't want to go there because it's not my story to tell. So we kind of like moved away from that again. And then I was like, okay, we're Europeans. Why should I look to the States to tell a story? Like, what is we have stories that we can tell.
Yeah.
So I got selected for a residency in Scotland. It was a tiny island, the Isle of Eigg. And it was a remote cabin. There was no internet. So it was just me and the album of Chris Stapleton, because it was the only one that I had downloaded from Spotify. And I listened to that album all week, writing Ghost on the Shore. The backstory anyway, like the whole story of Josh and Riley and their parents in the background, everything that came into existence there, overlooking rocks, water, the desolate feeling of being on an uninhabited island. And then I came back with that story, and then the rest of the crew read it, and they loved it. So I was yes. And from then, it didn't change anymore. We just started building. We knew who the characters were. I didn't know who Riley was at that point, not enough. But the whole backstory, and that is something that I had to be careful about throughout the rest of the development, is that the story wasn't. And I think it actually still kind of is Josh's story.
Yeah.
Less Riley's, it's Josh. And I really wanted it to be Riley's. And at one point, I think I just let go and was like, no, it's fine. It's Josh's story. But that didn't mean that Riley, I still wanted her to be a person and not just your avatar.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of worked, but I could have done more. And so I've learned from it. And for the next game, I really want to make sure that your player character is still more consistent and developed and more fleshed out somehow. Yeah. That was a big answer, but I don't know if that actually answered the question.
It did.
I think kind of in the same vein there. It's one of the things I appreciated about the way you told your story so much is that the character you are playing is a character. They have a life and a story of their own. I know a lot of narratives, sometimes you're just kind of the person controlling the keyboard and you're just quote unquote the narrator. So I really enjoyed that aspect of having the person you're playing. You're also kind of learning about them as well as, like you said, it's Josh's story, but you're also learning about who are you and how did you impact that, or what's your role in Josh's story.
Yeah.
I mean, the way she talks as well, there was like a few dialogue options, and I was like, I don't want to say any of that. Like, it's not. I know it's not me because you're getting all these options.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause she starts off like she's quite obnoxious towards Josh in the beginning, and I'm just like, no, be nice.
We had so much discussions about that one as well.
But it works. Like, it does work for sure.
Yeah, I definitely felt like, because like Kat said, you can either, I feel like when you play a narrative game like that, you are either kind of, it's an avatar and you're going through it, or you are kind of like personifying, I guess. Like maybe they're not a solid character, but you're kind of like with them. For this whole thing, I agree with Ari to where it was like, oh, I wouldn't say that. And so I really found myself thinking from like Riley's perspective and almost like I was a fly on the wall like the whole time, to where I was just like, when you're like that third friend who's watching like an argument play out and you're just like, oh no, she didn't, or something. And you're just kind of like there with them. I really felt like, I was just walking along with them rather than kind of taking over that role or sitting behind the scenes kind of thing. It was really awesome.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, I think you nailed it.
All right. We did skip a lot. We did cut a lot of scope.
Yeah, we did.
Because at one point we didn't have an office yet, and we booked this weekend on the seaside just to do this sprint together. And our Stephen was still doing production planning at that time, and I remember we were sitting at this table in the living room, and he started mumbling, and then he just slapped his laptop close and was like, "No, we can't do this. We got to stop now. We have to cut scope. We can't do this." And I'm like, oh my God. So we took a long walk on the beach, and when we came back, I think 2 characters and 3 scenes died because it was just not possible.
Yeah.
And I think it's the better for it. And I'm also very glad we did it because development kept being longer and more than we thought. Can you imagine, Kenny, if we would have kept tests and stuff? That would have been crazy.
At that point, I don't think was it already linear? I know.
No, it wasn't even linear. No.
Yeah, we decided at first that we were gonna have 3 islands, and you were gonna have your boat, and you were gonna be able to sail.
A movable hub.
Oh wow!
Yeah, you were going to be able to sail towards the 3 islands and then come back, because there were many different ghosts on the island.
Yeah, there were a lot of ghosts.
Not just Josh and Beatrice. So we cut a lot, but still we told the same story in some way, just doing it differently with the flashbacks we added then, and we just found different ways to tell the same story with less scope.
Yeah.
Oh wow! I'm just trying to wrap my head around the whole almost semi-open world concept. Yeah. Then
I was feeling the same thing back then, and I was like, but linear would be so much easier. I know it's some people say it's a little bit boring that way, but game design wise, it was Pandora's box, opening Pandora's box, because you were able to discover things in different orders, and then you were going to have conversations with different ghosts, but what if he doesn't know about that yet? And it was a little bit too much for our team back then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think especially that, because like the investigation role is something that I wanted to keep for a very long time. I kept fighting for that. No, we need it. But then but it was just, we had to be realistic as well. We were a small team, like 2 people full time at that time, and 3 freelancers working after their daytime hours. It was impossible. So I'm glad that we were realistic enough to let go. And this is also something of an advantage of working with your friends, because you know each other and you know when to fight for something and when to let go. And you also understand when something is emotionally important to somebody and they should let go or they shouldn't let go. And you think, okay, I know this is important to you. We can make it. So
that's super important. Like in working together, we always try to find out what the essence was of the thing that the person in question wanted to cut or wanted to keep, because maybe it's solvable in different ways that we can keep the essence of it, but with less things to make or so we cared about each other's visions, so to speak. Like,
and I think that for example, because I wanted to have that detective kind of aspect in it. I realized that wasn't possible, but it's fine, I let go. But I also wanted Scruff and Margot to be more visible, and I wanted the player to think about those two characters, like what they meant in the life of Josh and Riley, and that was completely lost until I came up with the letters and the cassette tapes, and I know everybody was frowning, like, oh no, she wants another feature, like that. But it was important for me, and that's one example where they humored me and they were like, okay, we know this is important to you, we'll implement it. It's a lot more work, but we can do this.
I think that's still one of the best things in the game, if I can say that myself, is like the performances of Scruff and Margot on those tapes and letters. It's some even chill me to today. Like,
and Callum too. Like, those are my three favorite actors. And two of them got an award for the one voice.
True.
That's awesome. Well deserved. I think it was beautifully acted, the whole thing. And I love that you brought up that you guys seem to have liked those letters and tapes so much, because honestly, I loved Josh and Riley. Yeah, they were a huge highlight for me. Like, just being able, like, I was seeking those out, and I love that you got to like have a little sit spot to really like take in the environment while listening to it. I loved that, because like I said earlier, I got so distracted just kind of like looking at the rogues and like the world that you guys kind of developed. And so being able to kind of sit down and like listen to that and kind of glean the story while just kind of like hanging out. I don't know. It felt like a little picnic or something, it was just so lovely.
Some of my favorite moments in the game, just like sit there chilling, listening to the tapes or the letters.
That's awesome. That's exactly the feeling we wanted to we wanted to have for the players.
I think it was stunning. Personally, I would really like to hear a little bit more about kind of those individual character inspirations, I guess. You had such a diverse cast. And it sounds like you even cut a few of the characters as well. And now that just blows my mind, because it is a large cast. And, I think you really kind of got the weight of all of that, or at least I did, when you hit the graveyard. And it was like everybody had these individual stories. You realized how many people were actually involved based on the letters that you were finding, or the tapes, or the different shades and things. And so I'd love to hear more about the character inspirations.
They came from everywhere. Like Riley and Josh, I don't think there's like one reference to any character. It just, I probably just found little bits and pieces along the way, but they're like, I mean, I don't know, like they came out of me or something, I don't know. But like there's a lot of like Scruff, for example, was inspired by a character that actually lived on that island that I went to. There was a skipper named Scruff who had a sea otter as a pet. And he was legendary on the island. And also, like, there was in the little cabin that I was staying in, there was a very tiny library with books and leaflets on the island. and there were like old pictures. So I did a lot of walking and hiking and visiting sites and their history. And they certainly, like I picked just when I was writing Callum, for example, there's this old picture of this farm boy, somebody that I don't know, but the way that he was standing there and like defying the photographer, that was for me Callum. So that one in his profile. And then Tess, who became Terrence eventually. So she was a reincarnation initially as well. Yeah, I'm not going to go into all of them. That's just pointless. But Cordelia, like the mother, she was a ghost at one point. Pixie was a ghost at one point. Beatrice. So all of them, we and Scruff and Margot as well. They were all ghosts of their own that you could go talk to. But we didn't. Then we decided to do it differently. Just got scope. But at one point, you just take a timeline and you go like, so if you want Riley to come back so many times, and you need at least a lifetime that long, you need a couple of years in between, and then we just ended up with a timeline. And because initially Margot, do you remember, Kenny? She was in the 90s. She was this clubbing girl who would come to the islands, but then it didn't fit the timeline anymore. So we ended up in the 70s, and we're like, okay, she's not a 90s disco chick, but she's a hippie. And then you start developing, you start researching, and then you find little tiny articles about a girl, and then they remind me of her, and then I steal a lot from real life. And oftentimes pictures of people that I see that speak to me, and then I fantasize who they are, and then the story comes from there, and the characters too. And then afterwards, I did have help from Lauren Handler. She wrote a lot of the in-game props and letters and stuff. So I would give her the content, but she would develop it. And I had an amazing intern as well. At one point, Jeff, he developed the stories for the Black Bell, so the pirate and stuff. Of course, afterwards I edited and I morphed it and whatever. But I really did enjoy giving some bits and pieces to other people and see what they would bring back to me. That's good deal. Am I forgetting something?
That is boggling. I'm just like, I'm trying to think of how much that would have changed the experience in the game if the ghosts were around to like discuss. It was interesting. I liked having Beatrice and that like mini arc with that. But the idea of being able to talk, like Cordelia in specific, like I'm like, wow, that.
Yeah. I really did not like that woman.
Did you have a character that you did particularly like? Is there a favorite character?
Yeah, I would think Margot.
Me too.
Yeah.
Margot,
I've even been thinking of. Sorry, go ahead, Kenny.
Yeah, Margot is amazing, and in the same respect, Scruff. I really like Scruff. You really feel in his letters and his pain, but still the not being able to return to his daughters, and just how that is morphed into those letters, and I don't know. It really spoke to me.
He's like flawed, but in a really human and relatable way.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
I love a good tragedy. So I agree. Scruff was one of my favorites too. I absolutely loved his arc.
Yeah.
And I got chills when the last cassette you can find before the flashback of Margot drowning. That one just got to me so much. I had goosebumps. That was amazing.
What is it again? That's his last one.
Yeah, that's her last one. The one she records right before she goes into the water and drowns. And then seeing the flashback, maybe even before seeing the flashback, and then hearing the cassette or vice versa, it both works. But that was a chilling moment for me.
Well, I think tying that together too with, the ending as you're struggling against, as Riley, you're struggling against what may be your demise. I mean, like, I was literally like sweating. I'm like, oh my God. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Not again.
Heart palpitations. Like, I get that. Yeah.
But that scene with Mark was really hard to. We had a lot of iterations on that because we wanted to. At first, she was she meant to drown, but then that was too hard to tell in just. And it was also like that was not what the story was about, and it was a can of worms that we actually didn't really want to open. And we're like, okay, so she's just in her desperation, she makes a mistake and she doesn't mean to. But then we had her die, and you could hear it, but it was just so no, you cannot hear her die. So the flashback actually stops with him saying, "I'm right here." And that actually worked better because then you have the urgency of Riley who wants to know. She wants to know what happened to Margot. And that just rises the tension between Riley and Josh again. So I personally really enjoy those moments where you have crafted something and you get to like fine tune and you get to file stuff and make it smoother and polish it and like... so yeah, it's a scene that I really, really enjoy. Well, not enjoy, but that I'm proud of.
Oh yeah.
The writing and everything for it is just beautiful.
Yeah.
Highly emotional.
Yeah, highly emotional, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's it. There was a lot of like I said, I had played it live on stream, and there was a lot of moments that, you encounter and are, there's good emotion throughout the whole thing. But I remember when we finally got to like that, the last rogue and found Margot and got all of those areas. And I do remember that one in particular. We kind of had to sit for a beat, because I was like, wow, okay, we need to process what just happened, just for a minute.
Yeah, the ending feels like a train and it's not stopping.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Just barreling down. It's like you're barreling through a tunnel into a wall and you're like, how do I stop it?
Yeah.
Yes, it worked.
Oh, yeah.
But also there we had a lot of discussion. Like sometimes we felt like it was too much of a train and we needed more moments, more pauses for the player to let it sink in that Margot died, or that Riley is Margot and Scruff and etc. Especially there, because I remember like if the next dialogue would just kick off, that moment would be lost. We needed some silence. We needed to be able to guarantee that every player would get a beat or two there to let it sink in.
Yeah. That's what I love about the home sequence as well. We call it the home sequence. It's the sequence where you have the 4 homes basically of Riley, Scruff, Margot, and Nora, like the 4 little islands, and it's just quiet all of a sudden. Like everything happened and it's quiet. You have to collect the 4 words of the lullaby song, and that's the moment I'm really proud of in the game. Like it's just that moment of clarity and moment of reflection you get there, and I really enjoyed that after all the climax. But well, and then heading into the next climax, of course, because we can't stop there. But yeah, that's a moment I really enjoy in the game.
It's a good moment. Okay, I have a question about one very important character to me. What's Marshall's story? Where is Marshall? What? Like, I would like to know about the good boy, please. Like,
poor Marshall.
He died of old age.
Okay, all right, that's fine. He was a good old boy.
I'm just gonna give a little heads up. My kids are coming in, so it's gonna be a little noisy.
That's
So I'm
okay.
in the kitchen. That's,
Thank you.
yeah. Hey, water. yeah, it's good.
While we're still talking about-
Marshall is it's a dog that she found. She that's actually it. I had two ideas for that, and at one point somehow they both ended up in there. Like one was that she found them at the factory where she used to work. She found this stray dog and she started feeding him. And when she left, she was like, "I'm going to take you with me on my trip." And and at one point, I was like, no, it's her dad. Her dad gave it. It's the only good thing he ever did. He gave her the dog.
Oh.
And I really liked that. But both of them were in there. And at one point, somebody was like, "Oh, the dad gave her the dog. Didn't you find him at the factory?" And I was like, "Oh my God." So I had to go record all those dialogues again because I was like too caught up in my own stories. But so the thing is that he's the stray dog.
Okay.
And he died on the trip.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's the kind of the vibe that I was finding. But then I was like, were we supposed to find Marshall? Like, was he okay? Did he have a good life?
Yes, he's had a very good life.
Good. I can rest easy now,
Yeah. You can all go to bed a little bit happier.
I love that
and
addition.
Marshall is actually the name of Steven, our one of our developers. That was his dog. That was his name of his dog. So Marshall really did exist.
I love those.
I love
when
those.
that's the case.
Yeah. Where there's like some little additions, I love that.
Did the same with the Discord server with a few sort of very, very side characters.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so much fun getting us involved. What made you decide?
Oh yeah.
We had a few contests, so to speak. Like we asked for a name of the boat. I remember we asked for a name of the band and the. I think you won that, right?
And the singer.
Yeah, the singer. True.
And then there was the plushie as well.
Yeah, the plushie, the little cuddle toy. That's one of our Discord server members, real life plushie as well.
Aww.
So, yeah, we loved like having the community contribute in some way, and we felt that was really important.
That's so great. What kind of I guess originally pointed you in the direction of wanting to kind of involve your community in that aspect?
Oh, it's just like we're already creating a game that's a little small niche of people that enjoy these games, and having these people around to chat and in the server and having them contribute and seeing all the suggestions, it's just fun and it feels like they're involved then, and they are involved, of course. They're contributing in so many ways. But we felt that was a really nice way of having player suggestions and
it makes the story so much richer also, like having different angles and having people be involved and just give us a warm fuzzy feeling.
Like, personally speaking, when I saw the band name that I'd come up with in the game, it was like, oh, this is so exciting, and like I felt like I'd helped out in my teeny tiny little way.
Yeah.
It just I felt really involved, and it was nice.
That's awesome.
And we did that with the community suggestions, but we also did that with everyone in our team. Like the guitar, for example, you find in Margot's van, it's like a painted guitar a little bit. And it's Dries' actual guitar. It's like a pretty replica of his guitar.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
The drawings and the drawings in Margot's van are of his girlfriend. She draws a lot and has this really specific style, something that I couldn't do at all. And that's scans of her drawings. So we really enjoyed those things as well, just making the project personal for each team member. And to that extent personal for the community as well.
Yeah,
That's
even
awesome.
our interns are in the game somehow.
Yeah,
Like
Jeff,
Marie,
Jeff is
yeah. Jeff is Jefferson. He made his own grave, so he's still there.
he has a gravestone in the game. It's so funny.
And Kat, she buried her dog in
Right.
the graveyard somewhere.
Yeah.
And then we have Marie. She's actually the face of Margot. That's our intern Marie. She
Oh,
loved doing
wow.
pictures. So I just took my cell phone. And she brought a bunch of clothes, and I snapped some pictures. She was incredible. So, but like everyone in some way is in the game.
That's awesome. I love that.
So cool.
Since we're kind of like talking about some of those musical elements and whatnot, I know that I would really like to. I think I speak for all of us. We loved the soundtrack.
Oh yeah, I'm listening to it right now.
Oh wow!
I think it really added. It was almost like it was its own narrative point, I guess. It really added to the experience in its entirety. And so, opener, what I guess was your main inspiration for the soundtrack and its direction that you took it?
Well, that was all Dries and Wart, our sound and music guys. You did do some music direction, right, Kenny?
Yeah. And I know Wart is like this amazing wizard in his studio. He doesn't just want to play musical instruments. That was his goal. I'm not just going to play guitar, or I'm not just going to take a piano and play some notes on it. He did crazy stuff, like he mic'd a piano but didn't play the piano. He played an amplifier of the guitar towards the piano, so the strings would start vibrating of the piano, and he recorded that. Or he recorded a bicycle. Like at one point, the bicycle was upside down in the studio, and they were tuning like the how do you call those?
That's amazing.
The forks of the wheel. Yeah, and they were turning the wheel and playing with a plectrum, different notes on the bike.
Oh my gosh!
Like it was far out, but it really worked out to get that strange, mysterious sense of the islands also reflected in the music, and not just playing ordinary musical instruments, but doing much more with it and producing them and
their philosophy was like this has to sound like something they've never heard before,
but still feel familiar in some way, like not going all the way out there, because then you alienate people a lot of the times. But because it's recorded mostly with like proper musical instruments, but they're played in a different way, you get this strange sense of familiar, but like something you've never heard before.
And something that I do know that they keep saying is that we absolutely specifically asked we didn't want it to be scary. Like the music couldn't be frightening. It had to be like warm and familiar. And okay, sometimes it can be a little eerie, or you can be alerted to there's tension or something's going to happen. But we never wanted it to be spooky or anything. And that's what the guys kept telling us, like how easy it was to make it spooky. So they had to constantly take a couple steps back. Like, no, we can't do that. It's too spooky.
Oh, that's so fun.
Flesh and Blood is quite a dramatic intro to the song, and it's quite different to the rest of the soundtrack. What was the sort of motivation behind that choice?
I think that is that was I had the idea. I wanted that musician to ask him, like when we were still when we still thought it was going to be Louisiana-ish. I really wanted that Southern U.S. style music, and I absolutely loved the guy's voice and everything. So we were just starting out. We hadn't even started pre-production, and the guys were already in the studio recording a song. We're like, oh, okay, that was fast. But we just let him do it, and it was fun because we used that song for everything, promotion and pitch videos and whatever. We used it throughout. So that's why it's entirely different from the rest of the project, because it was the very first song they ever made. And and it was there even before the story, really. Just it was just we just had a concept, an idea. There was no art, there was no story, there was but in the end we still felt that it worked, and because it is such a very dramatic song, it just grabs your attention from the get-go. And that's something that we wanted. Like we don't want a slow intro, just grab them.
We did know we wanted like a strong theme song. Like if you would put a movie or like a TV series on, we wanted to have that intro of you're here now, and you'll be stuck here until you're through the islands. And just having that strong sense and that strong feeling of that intro song was really important, not just some piano playing or
some sense of sense of doom, even like you're heading for something. Something's coming.
Heading for a storm. A physical and an emotional one.
I love that. Yes.
I think it definitely hit the mark. At least, like I felt like it did. You know, there was a lot going on in that first, introductory. But I really love a story, a game, a movie, anything that just kind of grabs you and throws you headfirst in. And I think that helped a lot.
Sort of in the menu, and the music's quite gentle, and you press play, and it's like, oh, hello, I'm here.
Yeah, we got some comments on that one. The leveling was maybe a little bit off there, but you were awake at that point, so
you were ready.
Mission accomplished.
Oh, I liked it.
Did off of the soundtrack, maybe it's Flesh and Blood, maybe not. Did you have a favorite song?
The Heart of Little Rogue is for me my favorite.
That one's really good.
Yeah, it's Ward is my husband, and he wrote it, and we were like, Ward, we need a song that's like a lullaby that the Nora sings to her baby, and Beatrice sings it also all the time, and then we didn't actually, in the end we didn't really use it, I guess, right? But we even had Scruff Neurie. How do you say that in English? Hum the song. So we had different versions of it because it's a song that Riley throughout her lifetimes would always take with her. It's actually also the song that Margot played on her guitar, a little shabbily, but still very emotional. So that was our question.
Oh,
Dagmar left.
Yeah, I think she got cut. No worries.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys, thanks for hanging tight. We're having some technical difficulties at the moment. Poor Dagmar just had her power go out. So we're going to continue on with our conversation here with Kenny. Hopefully Dagmar can pop back in. But let's just dive right back in.
Beautiful. I guess, Kenny, now's a good time then to jump into if you have a favorite song that was on the soundtrack or in the game.
So yeah, I definitely like our theme song, Flesh and Blood. But also I'm not sure how the title of the song is, what the title of the song is, but the one that plays at the climax when you're drowning. The first time when I heard that was just amazing. I thought I was hearing some random movie soundtrack, but no, like Wart and Dries played that in the studio, and that was. Yeah, at that point, I was really like, oh my, I better make sure this art I'm making is good enough to complement the music. Like that was really like, oh my god, this is so professional.
I think you nailed it. Yeah, absolutely. Dagmar, I think I see you back.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Oh, great. Yay.
Beautiful.
Did you hear me for a while?
What was it? Just briefly. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. It was Ward was in his studio and he's trying to fix something and he did something wrong.
Oh no! Totally fine.
Yeah.
Perfect. We'll go ahead and we'll just kind of like pick up, I guess, where we were, if you're comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
because I really love what you said about the heart of Little Rogue, and I would love to like hear you say that as well.
Yeah. So that I'll just say it again. So the heart of Little Rogue is like a theme song. I felt at one point that we sort of needed a song that to illustrate the fact that they were all reincarnations. I wanted to use that song. Like, it's a song that Nora sings to her baby, and it's also the same song that Beatrice hums to herself, having had her mom sing it to her as a baby. And that's why I wanted to have the reincarnations to also have a version of it. And initially we started out with Flesh and Blood, and I wanted to be that song. So that was actually the question to us. Can you write a lullaby the same as Flesh and Blood, but a lullaby, and have it be about no, he actually came up with that. The Song of the Sealies. So the whole song in I'm just being very chaotic right now. So we had all the reincarnations sing the same song. They hum it, or Margot, she plays it on her guitar. Because they carry that song with them into all of their lives. And that was our question to him. Can you write a lullaby, like with the same melody of Flesh and Blood, but it has to be a lullaby, and it has to be able to be sung by 2-3 characters. And he came up with this. And when he sent it to me, and it was like, we're in the same house, but in a different room. I actually just jumped up from my chair and went to him, and I'm like, oh my God, I love it. And he was like, I'd never said that before. Not like that, he says. That I actually loved something that he wrote that much. And also because we'd been talking about the Sealy legends, and we were in Scotland at one time, and we bought this children's book for our daughter about a Sealy. There's this children's animated movie about a Sealy as well, very sad. So that kind of was something that was living in our household. And then I asked my friend Mareke, who is a singer, to sing it. And especially because I knew it's also something that she more symbolically or mythologically was working with the Sealy thing of shedding your skin, and it just all came together. And whenever I hear it, like all of those emotions, all of that story, that just comes bursting in like a thick wave for me personally.
It's a beautiful song.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that you pulled from, I guess, Sealy legend in that, because I obviously, within the cave drawings and, the drapes over the branch and everything, I love those kind of folklore and those kind of legends and whatnot. And so seeing it pulled into the little rogue islands and the atmosphere and everything, it felt so well placed, I guess. And that was, you totally answered it. I was going to ask if you had pulled from any specific folklore within those kind of things, and hearing you talk about your time in the Scotland Islands and everything, that's just awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And that was, all of that was already there, but I was actually reading the Women Who Run with the Wolves by
yes.
Yeah. And I was on the chapter about the Sealies, the Sealy women, and it was like, this is not a coincidence that I'm writing this chapter right now. And we also knew that we needed a tape for Margot right there in that cave, and then everything clicked into place for me, because I was like, oh, for me, that is the most emotional tape of Margot, where she just wants to sink beneath the waves, and and then it all just clicked on so many levels.
Yeah, wow, I love that. I really loved, like I said, exploring the rogues, and the way that they're designed, and the way that everything flows. I wanted to poke into every little nook and cranny especially since like there was some things like cheeky hidden, you know, around all of those areas. You kind of had to hunt for like the tapes and, you know, the letters and all that. And those sit spots to where it's like, I feel like it was the best viewpoints, if you will. And this question might be directed a little bit more at Kenny at this point, but what was kind of like your mood board for like designing the colors and the flow and the just all those artistic elements, I guess, of the environment that we're in, especially since the rogues change as you progress. You know, they get darker, they get more moody as the story dips as well.
Yeah, I based a lot of it on impressionistic paintings. I wanted to have the player experience like he was in a painting or something. That's why I also added like the painterly effects on everything and just like it's an impression of reality almost. Like it's you're really there on the islands, but you're experiencing something so surreal that I wanted to have that in the art style as well. Because the story is gripping and really serious and hard hitting. But I wanted to contrast that with like a place where you feel safe or where you feel at ease or comfortable. Because I didn't want to have the player be tense all the time, or that wasn't our goal at all.
Right.
So we wanted to reflect that in the art as well. Like somewhere you feel safe and it's not really defined. Like that's why I like working stylized as well, because you leave a lot up to the players as well. Like they can fill in the gaps that I left out, and that's really important to me. I personally don't really like the super high realistic stuff, because then it feels like I want the player to have his own emotions and insights influence how he looks at the game or she looks at the game. That's really important to me.
Oh, I love that. I love that perspective of going for the hyper realism versus making it more whimsical and a little more illustrated. I love that.
Yeah, I totally see what you were going for, and I think you nailed. Like I said, I felt really like cozy, and I think that the design of the islands in that envisionment of kind of like a personification or the interpretation that you kind of like gather as you progress. Man, I love that it's like you're in a painting, because that's exactly what it felt like. Like you were just navigating, you know, a work of art. And it I don't know, it left a really strong impression on me just being in the environment. Like it really did.
Like you sort of said it before, but the way the art and the music sort of takes you on the same emotional journey that the narrative is, it all just blends together so seamlessly and beautifully.
And the way when those cutscenes came in, like I've never been more excited for cutscenes, just because the way that the music and the visuals would just blend, and I was like, I'm just here. I'm here for the ride. I'm here for the enjoyment. Like, and that
awesome.
it's so great to see all those like artistic elements kind of come together and create that like harmony, and it's just a beautiful game, like all elements.
Thank you.
So I think that we've been eager to ask this, but we wanted to like, you know, kind of get through your thoughts and everything, but we're really excited based on the conversations that we've had prior to now, but through Ari and everything. We would really love to hear your perspective on our podcast episode, and the points that you had mentioned. We got a lot correct, and some of the things that we might have missed the mark on. And so we'd really just love to hear from you guys in that aspect, whatever you're willing to share.
Yeah, it was amazing to listen to the podcast, because there was a lot of stuff you three mentioned that was, well, deliberately done by us, of course, but we never would have imagined, or we were really doubting if some people would pick it up or not. But you three did a lot of that, and that was amazing to hear.
Oh, hey.
And specifically about the endings, someone I don't remember who, but someone mentioned that they thought they saw the background of the main menu change.
That was me. Yeah, I was like honed in on that. I was like, something's different.
That is true. It is true. So it's 4 different endings, and we have 4 different visuals of how the Rogue Islands will look like with that ending. Or,
wow!
Like just a little detail.
I love that. Oh my gosh!
That's such a funny story. But Dries and I, we were. So he was the programmer. I did the art, and we were late in the office one night, and I think it was Dries who proposed that idea, and I was like, yeah, but we can't add more features now. It's so, well, we really shouldn't. We were not crunching, but it had to be finished in a month or two,
right?
And then you like, give me 5 minutes. And it won't save over sessions. It's just whenever you come back to the main menu, it's okay, it's fine. And then he was doing the code, and I was already assembling some props and objects into the main menu so it could work. And then we did that in like half an hour or something. And we felt it added so much, and we didn't tell any of the crew about it. So we were waiting on who is going to be the first one who will notice it. That was a fun inside story with it.
I love that so much.
Yeah, I think it really adds to. Yeah, it's like you said, it's such a small thing, but you know, if you're like me, where I want to watch all the credits, I want to take my time, I want to go back to the main menu and everything. Just going back and seeing that, I'm like, then I already wanted to go back in and, like, you know, play the various routes and stuff that you could have and get all the storylines and elements. But then I was like, now I have a goal. Like now I want to know like what changes.
Awesome.
That's great.
And I do remember you talking about going to Archie's attic or not going to Archie's attic.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if any one of you didn't go to Archie's.
I think we all made it in.
Okay. But it definitely changes when you don't. When you take the boat to the Dark Rogue, then you will see an entirely different scene that gives.
That you now have not seen yet.
Yeah, that gives
now
a perspective.
I have to play again.
It gives another perspective of Callum. I can say that, I guess.
Oh,
and you see his side of the story, or his side of the facts.
Oh.
I know what I'm doing in my current playthrough then.
I guess I know what I'm doing Saturday. Like,
I did a little snooping online for some of the achievements, and as painful as it is for me, I want to do a run where I'm rude to Josh the entire time.
I don't think I can.
Like, I don't know that I can do that though.
It was actually really fun to write that.
Oh,
Yeah.
I can imagine.
Yeah. It's so easy to have people be nasty to each other in dialogue. Whereas, you know, if you want people to like each other and you don't want it to be like corny and stuff, then that takes a lot more work than just
sure.
sharp banter.
Yeah,
but it was really fun watching you play because, I mean, we can say this, I guess. I mean, the game isn't selling the way that we had hoped it would sell, and then you start to doubt a lot of something like, did we do right? Did we make the right decision? And then it's just so heartwarming that we see you guys play, and we're like, see, they get it. That's the people that we made it for.
Well, there you go. I mean, go ahead and use our playthroughs wherever you need to promote.
Oh, yeah.
We had an amazing time. We loved it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think Kat also streamed it. I did. And I know that
I did it on YouTube.
I had a couple of my followers. They were like, I want to go buy this game now. Or they all really enjoyed the playthrough as well.
I had one random person who just stumbled across my YouTube, watch all 4 or 5 of my installments of it, and they were actively commenting and enveloped in everything as it was going through, like leaving messages as they're watching it. They got so wrapped into it just watching. So that speaks volumes too. So
yeah. True.
Yeah. And circling back to the being nasty to Josh, that's actually one of my favorite endings.
Really?
Because we have 4, and you have like, or you die or you live, of course. And then there's the one where you are nice or nasty to Josh. So then we decide which one of those 4 you get. And actually surviving and being nasty to Josh is like the more aesthetically pleasing, in my opinion, because you see your boats sailing away into the sunset, and you did solve the mystery, so to speak, of why Josh was still there. But you get away and you sail into the sunset onto your next adventure. And aesthetically, that's actually a pretty nice ending. And that's what I really liked about the endings as well. There's not really a good or bad, or it's not that black or white. It's just it's a different outcome of your journey, of your story. So that's what I really like.
There's no right ending. Although the one where you die and you are enemies or you don't like each other, I think that's the most cruel one.
That's a depressing one. I'm stuck on the islands now
forever, and we don't like each other.
No.
What should we say it? Can we say it, or do you want to like replay and then?
I'll say my personal perspective. I would love to hear from the creators' mouths, but I won't speak for my other 2.
Because we felt so the endings came organically in the sense that, I mean, they had. It's not like we want 4 different endings and we're just going to make the player arrive there. We wanted it to be very organic, like. So if you're alive and you like him, you love him, what with an ending, what would that be like? You know, like, okay, he's set free and he's always set free. He always goes. But, you know, you're alive, you can go with him, and it's just heart-wrenching. Like, you do not want to leave him again. But then if you're dead, okay, then, you know, we kind of do the beautiful ghost story where you walk off together in the sunset. Also very pleasing. But what do you do when you don't like each other? You know, when she's alive, you're like, okay, cool. He's free. He can go. You know, like, we don't like each other, but, you know, thank you. Shake hands. Goodbye. And I'm going to go do my thing. But then, well, if she's dead and she set him free, what's going to happen then? And that was the hardest one. And people were testing it where not everybody was... Some people thought it was too hard or too harsh, but I kind of wanted to stick with it because it just made sense. It felt natural. Is that so he's set free, and she just, you know, like when she finds out she's a ghost and she loves him, he's very sorry about it. And she's almost like, it's okay, you know, we're together again. But when she hates him, she's like, God damn you bastard, what did you do? You know, and he's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, but you weren't listening. And then she's like, you don't need to kill me for it. I mean, like, and then she's like, okay, what are we going to do now? And then he's like, I'm sorry, but there's nothing we can do. And she's like, what do you mean? And he takes off. He can't stay, but she's stuck. So she's just screaming at him, you asshole.
My heart.
He's gone, and she's stuck on the islands as a ghost, waiting for, I don't know, the next boat to come save her, maybe.
Right.
But that's the most gut wrenching to me, like, because the one thing that we had decided was we always wanted Josh to be freed and be able to leave, because you do want your player to have some sense of satisfaction of having accomplished something. So, yeah.
Oh, that's
Talk
powerful.
about tragedy. I
Tragedy.
love that. Oh, wow.
I'm so glad I wasn't mean to Josh.
Yeah, it's always exciting, I guess, gearing up for our podcast, because we each play through, we really try to target games with multiple endings or multiple outcomes. So that, because it's exciting to see like the variances and perspectives, and if we've been dealt a hand, or we handled things, who got the bad ending, or something like that. It's exciting to hear that we all kind of got like the ideal, I guess, this time, but it's so cool. I do. Sorry, my brain like skipped a beat for a second. Did you guys feel, I guess, when listening to the podcast, looping back around then, that we might have there were some things that I think Kenny had said that we might have missed, I guess, a mark or whatnot? We would love to hear, because we're so invested in the story. Kind of that variance in there, I guess.
I don't know.
I'm not sure I don't think you did miss a mark anywhere. Just those things that were in where you were in doubt that I just explained now. But for the rest, it was pretty well done.
That's so good to hear.
That's so smart.
Yeah.
That's an A+.
Yeah.
It's also if you take players that take their time, they will find it. Because we did pay a lot of attention to that, like the tape, the first tape of Margot, in the garden. There were a lot of people who didn't find it because it was in a corner of the yard, and people weren't trained yet to go look for tapes and letters. And then Kenny actually just moved the passageway, like he changed the garden so that you actually almost had to pass by. So we really made sure that the first letter and the first tape that you find them, so that you're trained. Oh, that's another one, an inspiration from real life. The tin cans. The Isle of Ache that I went to, they have this one mountaintop, and they actually have a tin can. But I didn't get there because I was there to write. A tin can buried there with a list of names in it. So if you reach the top, you can, and you know where the can is, you can open it, write your name on it, knowing that you've reached the summit.
Oh, whoa!
I thought that was so cool. So that's when we knew that Scruff needed to leave something behind. I was like,
right,
bury it in tin cans.
I love that.
I love that too.
I love those little things, like you said earlier, Dagmar, of having real life really inspire portions of that. That is so cool. It breathes such life into the environment, I guess.
That's
awesome.
So yeah, I mean, you guys took your time and enjoyed the scenery.
Oh yeah,
I guess we made it for. Yeah.
What we do love with those multiple playthroughs as well is that we almost none of the objects are mandatory, so you don't really need to find anything. You could rush through it, not looking at anything. But of course, we expect the player to at least try their best to at least look into some of the objects. But that makes for a story that even you three talking to each other, you might have missed some objects, or you might have missed letters or cassettes. And going back to it, you keep on discovering things about the story, things that aren't essential but still enriching the story, and that's what we like to do as well in our games and future projects as well. That nothing, it's not a set path you have to take, or on the level or on the islands you have to take a set path, but nothing is mandatory. You just discover as you please, and that's really important to us as well.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah.
I'm still hunting hard. I'm on my third playthrough, but I know from my achievements that I haven't found all the letters yet.
In the Garden of Terrence, is that
That's a
letter?
cassette.
That's a cassette.
That's a cassette. Mm.
Because we know that's a hard one.
There's one at the lodge that's hard to find, a letter.
Yeah.
Oh.
Just before you take the staircase to the bottom again, you can go to a little pot on the left, and then I'm not sure if you found that one already. So
I don't know if I did.
Not the staircase, but like the.
And then you have
not
a
in
view
the lodge,
from
in
the
the
lodge.
yard. Yeah, when you take the steps down to the beach, somewhere there. And I think a lot of people don't find that one because at that point you're like all caught up in the web. Beatrice.
You're invested to talk to Beatrice, and that's a little sneaky one we put in.
Oh, yeah. I was always very invested to talk to Beatrice, so I probably did miss that one now that I think about it. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on how would you react if you suddenly had to deal with a ghost in your head?
I don't know. I do not know.
I think I would have Riley's reaction, like in disbelief and in denial somehow at first. But I think I would take the like branch then, like being nice to him. So,
safe bet.
Especially with somebody invading your brain, right? You gotta be nice just in case.
True.
I think I might be more scared.
Oh yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something I should have explored as a branch as well. Like, what if you're scared?
Yeah.
We did do that with Beatrice though. That was
that's
even,
true.
It's even achievement. Like if you try and ignore Beatrice as much as possible, just walk past her, and that's a possibility as well, of course.
Yeah. which is a reaction or a response you'd have in real life, but it doesn't work in a game. Like everybody was like, "Oh, there's a ghost. Let's go talk to it."
I will say I was a little nervous.
For sure.
Really?
Yeah. Because it was, the first time that you see her, you're like round the corner. And I think I
screamed. Yeah,
I very vividly remember saying to my chat, I was like, oh, it's a secret horror game. I don't want to go over there. That was like straight up my reaction. And then I inched over to them and I was like, oh, it looks like I can avoid them. And then chat was like, no, go talk. And so I was like, okay, fine.
We had that comment on Expo so much. Like we had a demo, and the demo was the section from like the beach until it ended with a flashback, that like the first flashback of the picnic. And when like Pixie's, the child's laughter comes in, like I think 2 or 3 people took their headphones off and just asked, "Is this a horror game?" Like, with fear in their eyes, like, no, it's fine. It's just a little bit this section, maybe.
I'm not ready to get scared.
I had the exact same comment when I was streaming it last night.
That's so funny.
At one point, there was this girl. Once she really didn't see it coming, and the child started giggling. It was with the mouse and keyboard that she was playing. She actually just threw the mouse away. she was like, "Ah!" I'm like, "It's fine, it's okay." I will never forget that one.
It's a good jump scare for a game that's not a horror game. It was a very good jump scare.
I love that. Yeah. So I definitely had the whole secret horror game reaction. And I mean, it gets, I really love, especially at the end, after everything that has happened, and when you do kind of hand control over, and it definitely ended into, I want to say, thriller territory at the very least, but yeah. Okay, I think it's time. I would really like to circle back all the way to the beginning. What is this new project maybe that you guys feel like sharing or chatting a little bit about?
It is called All I Ever Wanted.
I'm already crying.
We want to go back to Marie's room style more again, like the whole atmosphere. So we decided we want to keep it small again. Let's do something that we're familiar with. The game design of Marie's room. That whole cozy, romantic even feeling of being in a cozy, warm, fuzzy place, and then tell a really psychological, gut-wrenching story.
Again, Anna's already crying. So
I know, I gotta find my box of tissues.
You're going to lull us into a false sense of security.
Exactly. And we're going to have multiple rooms this time. So you start out in one, and we're thinking we might. I can say this right. Well, yeah. Maybe I don't need to say too much because we're still discussing
totally fine
how we're going to do it. But what we do know is it's the story of Alice, and Alice is a black girl who lives in a apartment above a jazz cafe, jazz club that her father owns. And she starts exploring her own apartment with a dictaphone. There's another word for it.
Tape recorder. Yeah.
Tape recorder in her hand. Yeah. So kind of like, Agent Cooper style. She's just walking around and exploring her own space, like trying to reconstruct herself. And each room that you go to, you just descend a little bit further into her own psyche, trying to get to the big trauma, the thing that happened that kind of uprooted her life. And if she's going to be able to, can she... The quest is actually like she once wrote, she's a jazz musician herself, and she learned from her dad, and she wrote a song for somebody, for her girlfriend, Mary Jane, and she never sung it to Mary Jane because of all the crap that has happened. But by the end of the game, we want to have the player get up on the stage and sing the song. So that's what we want to get to.
It's beautiful.
And it really feels like going back to the roots, not only like in gameplay design, we will stick more closely to Marie's room than we did to Ghost on the Shore. But it's also back to the roots in the sense that we're with two again. And I love our team, of course, but it's going to be cozy with just the two of us. And I'm looking forward to that as well, because Ghost on the Shore was really overwhelming at times. Starting a company and developing your first commercial game that was maybe a little bit too big in scope for the team. But and it's just going back to the essence of why we, or how we started and why we develop games, and I'm really looking forward to that as well.
Me too.
That's awesome.
So exciting.
I love that. Yeah, I'm very excited. I'm definitely looking forward to that. And looking forward to, I guess, more updates as we see.
Yeah, we were talking to publishers about 6 months ago, and then we weren't allowed to communicate about it and stuff. But then when that deal didn't go through, and then we decided that, you know what, let's not go that road down that road again. Let's just, you and me, no localization. We'll just keep it in English and just keep it small. Keep it back to the roots, as Kenny says. That's what it is. The one thing though, like I'm writing again. I did develop the story itself, the outline, together with two US writer friends of mine. And we're also working with a consultancy with Sweet Baby Inc. in Canada as a consultants, because obviously I'm not a Black girl, so we want some, and we have already had some sessions together because we want some inputs to make it like really authentic.
I love the equity of that. That's wonderful to have that as consideration.
Absolutely. That's so great.
There.
That's so exciting. I mean, I feel like I can speak for everybody that we truly love the playthrough of Ghost on the Shore, and I've played through Marie's Room, and I know Ari has. I'm not sure if Kat has, but just
I have not, but you bet I'm gonna.
Oh yeah, you should. Just hearing you guys being able to kind of loop back around to like that, and even having the Ghost in the Shore experience under your belt, I'm just very excited now. It sounds like it's going to be an awesome kind of like sad playthrough for me, you know.
Yeah, you might cry again. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It doesn't take much.
I look forward to crying over your game.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome to hear.
Like I said before, I love a tragedy. Like I like it when I'm hurting over something, you know.
Yeah. I get that.
It shows you care.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's awesome.
And for me, that's really important. The emotional, not that we necessarily need to make people cry always, but but the emotional arc that you get people so invested that they really feel.
Oh yeah. That's why I'm such a big fan of like these narratives. And absolutely. You know, I know it's like, oh, well, there's not much that I don't think that's true. Yeah, there's not, I guess, like button combinations and physical things that there's a lot going on. But, you know, when you're working through a story like that and you're collecting clues and you're learning about the multiple different people. I remember when I first started Ghost on the Shore, I was like, am I going to have to take notes? I have to take notes, you know, because I was like, it was like mentally, you know, very, very involved. And I just loved that.
Yeah. And there was a lot going on in the first.
Oh yeah, you're given so much to be smart up that I was just like, oh gosh, I don't want to miss anything. Because you've got a lot going on, and then you show up to the island, and even then it's like, oh wow, there's been a storm. How long ago were these people here? It's beautiful. Am I dead? But it was awesome, and I really love emotional stories like that. So I thoroughly look forward to the next game from you guys.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah. We're going to announce it. We decided like within the next 2-3 weeks, and we're just going to share everything development wise.
Yeah, because we didn't share it publicly yet, so this is a premiere.
Yes.
Ooh, I've got an exclusive scoop. I love it.
I guess that's a perfect segue then for me to, you know, thank you guys for joining us. This has been an absolutely enlightening and incredible discussion with you guys. I have had the best time getting these behind the scene looks and little snippets about the game and about you guys individually and as Like Charlie. Where is, I guess, the best place for people to kind of keep up with either Like Charlie or you guys individually? You know, now's the time to plug whatever you feel like plugging.
I would say Twitter is
Yeah, we've been quiet the past few months by now because of how Ghost on the Shore fared and just figuring out what we wanted to do next. But I think that will pick up again as development ramps up for the next game as well. And indeed, then Twitter. We're on Instagram. Joining our Discord server, of course.
Our Discord, awesome. Of course.
Yeah, that's where you get the scoops before anything on Twitter or Instagram. And yeah, we know our site is down, but we're going to work on that soon.
We hope to relaunch it, Christmas, January at latest.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Right.
And it was a pleasure talking to you. It's heartwarming to hear people enjoy the games you're making and the experiences you're creating. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely our pleasure.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this interview and discussion of Ghost on the Shore by Like Charlie. We're so grateful to Kenny and Dagmar for joining us today. Please be sure to check out all of the links included down below for the game and for our guests. And along with our own links, be sure to subscribe to get notifications for when the next video is going to be coming out. And if you guys have any thoughts or comments you want to leave, please do leave them below. We look forward to you guys joining us next time as we plug into the next episode of the Indie Backlog Club.